Okay, hello everyone. I hope that everyone is going to be coming in. It is time to start. If we haven't met yet, I'm Viv. I am the founder of Art with Viv. So let me know in the comments where you are watching from. Now don't tell your address. Just say the state. The state or the country. If you're here watching, just put that in the comments. Today we are going to be doing some loose florals, and I'm really excited about that. And I hope everyone has had a really good holiday. I am still behind. I'm still catching up. My wonderful husband, after having almost 6 solid weeks of people in my home that do not actually live here, my sweet husband invited someone over this weekend. This past weekend, I was determined that this past weekend I was going to catch up on all of my stuff that I needed to do for my members and all of that. And the next thing I know, my husband's coming home and he is telling me, so and so is coming over this weekend. Well, they've never been to our house before. My Christmas decorations were still up. My house wasn't the cleanest, so I had to take Friday off. Instead of having the whole week and the weekend like I had planned to get caught up, I had to stop work on Friday. I had to clean up my house because these people have never been here before. I didn't want the whole hot mess to just hit them right in the face. I want them to find out slowly what a hot mess I am. I don't want to just put it out there. Let them find out slowly. So I had to take Friday to clean up the house. Then Saturday we went to a celebration of life. One of my husband's co-workers, his mother passed away, so we went to that. Then we had guests, and then Sunday I was just dog tired. So I'm still catching up. So let's switch cameras and get started. Oh, someone's here from Maryland. So the first thing, hopefully y'all can hear me. The first thing I want to show you is all these beautiful cards. Now I bragged about my cards. Debbie sent me this one. It wasn't exactly a Christmas gift, but she sent me a gift, and she sent me this beautiful card, and I absolutely love it, and I love that she has her name on it. Then Elizabeth Lopez, she's one of our members. She sent me this beautiful Christmas card. She makes cards. You can see her name is here. She also sent me some nail wraps, or nail polish strips, which I want to try out. I just haven't gotten to it. And she also makes a beautiful insert for her cards. And I just thought you all would like to see that. And then not Debbie. Oh, I got Debbie on my mind. Carol Hartman, she sent me a whole pack of handmade cards for Christmas, and I have got to show them off. They are like little, and she put them in little envelopes, so they have the envelopes that came with them. But each one is just a little work of art. They are so cute. She just did some excellent work on these, so I have to brag on Carol. She's also a member here. Ages like underwear. Let's see what it says. It creeps up on you. Happy birthday. Yeah, sometimes my underwear gets creeped up in there and I got to send a search party to get that thing out of there. Anyway, these are just beautiful, so I have to brag on her. These are just so well made. Like I said, they are each just a little work of art. And they have sayings in them, but I'm trying not to take up too much of your time. But I did want to brag on Carol. You know I love bragging on my members here. You know I love them. Gotta love them up some, and I gotta show off their work. These are just beautiful. Beautiful cards. And I cannot wait to send them off. Start sending them. This one's really nice too. Now this one is my favorite. Not because it is also my sense of humor. See, there's a little toilet roll. And this is actually toilet paper. This is. And it says, sorry your day was so crappy. That is my kind of humor. But the other reason I really love this is my favorite is I love this vintage style flowers and the color scheme. I love this color scheme. So I might not give this one to anybody. I might have to keep this one. I might put it in a little frame and hang it up here in the studio because I just love the colors so much. And here is another one that she has made. I mean, just gorgeous. Yeah, you can see where it's raised. Just gorgeous. And then this is another one, and I think that might have been a stamp. That's going to be a great Father's Day card, I think, for someone. And then with sympathy, and that is like a Monet type painting, and I love Monet. So I really wanted to show those off. Then this was Carol's Christmas card. She actually painted this, and she sent it off and created her own Christmas card to send out to her friends. But this painting is phenomenal. Phenomenal. So I just wanted to brag on my members and show you some of the things they sent me over Christmas, which I do appreciate, and I love them. So now we are going to get down to what we're going to do today. I just have see, you can't see my palette, I don't have enough room, but I just have my regular palette here that I normally use. And here are some practice ones that I've done. And I was trying some peonies, but I think they came out ugly. So, but these are some practice ones. So this is kind of what we're going to do. And we're going to just stick to the simple flowers. We're probably not going to do roses and peonies because I'm just not happy. I'm going to have to work on that just a little bit more. So what I'm using today is I have gotten it's a watercolor from Canson, a watercolor sketchbook, and it's 140-pound paper, so it's actually good paper. The only thing is it's not 100% cotton, obviously. This has wood pulp in it, so it's not going to be as good as like cotton, 100% cotton paper, but I really do love this. And you can see I've done some, I have several of these. I have one for watercolor, one for mixed media, one for just drawing in, and I get them mixed up, and I drew in this one until I was like, and then I was making ideas for my little penguin. I don't know if you saw my little penguin I did last week, but I was just doing ideas, and I was practicing roses. And when I did this penguin, I realized when I saw all this roughness from where I was trying to shade, I was like, wait a minute, this is not a drawing sketchbook. This is my watercolor sketchbook. So yeah, I do stuff like that. It's my ADHD. I'm just going to blame it on that. So that's what I'm using. I'm just using a sketchbook from Canson, and it has 140-pound paper in it. And I've got some different brushes here. I've got my black velvet. I've started painting with these again. It's silver black velvet series 300S. And I have two of those that I'm going to be using today, an 8 and a 2. And then I have my Mimics, which I absolutely love, my Creative Mark Mimics, and it's an 8 round. And then this one, I'm probably not going to use the brush, but what I want to use is this tip. See this sharp tip? Now, if you don't have a brush that has a sharp tip on it, you can use tear up a credit card and use the corner, like a sharp edge of the credit card, and I'll show you what we're going to do there. And I've just got my regular palette here because I have been working on the tutorial for my paid members. So they're going to get their tutorial pretty soon. And some paper towel, and I have a little cup of water. And I'm using my smaller cup because we are in a smaller area. All right, so let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is mix up a little bit of, I think I'm going to go with some permanent rose. Just put some permanent rose out here and a little bit of cadmium yellow. Uh-oh, my cadmium yellow. I didn't rinse my brush off good, so my cadmium yellow turned orange, but that's okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to pick up some of this. Oh, I don't want to use this brush. I don't know why I'm using that brush. I'm going to switch to my black velvet, my silver black velvet. And I like it because it has a really nice, can you see that really sharp point on it as opposed to the more round point of the Mimic. So I am going to go ahead and I'm going to pick up a little bit more. And I am just going to just start doing sort of a rounded a rounded petal shape. But here's what I want to do. I want to leave some white in there. I don't want to make it solid. And then I'm just going to keep making these little petal shapes around an imaginary center here. But when I get toward that center, I am leaving a little bit of white. so that it does look like a center. And what I found when you're doing these really loose watercolors is don't overthink it. Just paint it. Just put the paint down and don't worry about it. Now I'm going to get a little bit of this yellow. I think I'm going to just add some of the cadmium yellow in there, and that'll just sort of brighten it up a little bit. And then I'm just going to continue. I think I'm going to make a yellow flower with the cadmium yellow. And this time I want it to sort of face this way. And it's okay if you accidentally touch your flowers together and you're just doing like blobs, really. It's really something simple. You're just doing blobs. Oop, got that blob all together on it. And just leaving some of that area in the center white like that. And I think I am going to come in there with just a little bit of my cadmium orange here. No, you know what? I think instead of cadmium orange, I'm going to use my transparent orange. I like that a little bit better. So I'm going to put some just transparent orange just around the center to make it look a little darker in the center while it's still wet. And that'll make it have a little bit more dimension to it. Now while these are still wet, I'm going to take this sharp end of my paintbrush here, and I am just going to draw some texture lines out into the petals with that sharp end. Again, you can use anything that's dull but will scrape, like a credit card, a broken credit card, a piece of stiff cardboard, just whatever you have. Don't cut your paper though. You don't want to cut it. That's a bad thing. So here we go. So that just gives it a little bit of texture. Hopefully you can see that. Can you see those little lines I made with that? So we're going to continue on and we're going to alternate. I think I'm going to go with a more orangey pink flower next. So I'm mixing up my permanent rose with a little bit of that transparent. And this time I'm going to do it sort of like it's facing away. It's not an open. We're looking at a side view. And then I'm going to take a little bit of this yellow maybe and just put it in there. And when it dries, it's going to be really pretty. It'll make a real pretty. Now we're going to make this one more open, but maybe a little bit smaller. And this one's I have a little more water on my brush, so of course the flower is coming out more pale. And I want that. I want to have some variations. I'm going to go with another yellow one. Let's go with like a yellow, sort of a daisy shape, a yellowish orange daisy shape. So for that, I'm just going to put the point of my brush down, pull it, and then lift it. Put the point of my brush down, smoosh it, lift it, and we're just going to make our way around this imaginary center. And you can turn your paper if it makes it easier for you. And then lift, like smoosh it down, lift it. Smoosh it down, lift it, and drag it toward the center. Smoosh it down, lift it, drag it toward the center. Smoosh it down, lift it, and drag it toward the center. Smoosh it down, lift it, drag it toward the center. Smoosh it down, drag it toward the center. And you can kind of fill that in a little bit around the center, but just leave like a little bit of that open. So now you have more of a daisy. Let's do a daisy up here too. Let's do the same similar thing up here. Let's make it, where do I want it? I don't want to put too much yellow. Let's do it here and let's make it small. We're just pushing down, pulling, pushing down, pulling. Can you see that? Pushing down, pulling. And you can make it a little fatter where you've pulled it. You can even go from the other end, like start in the center and pull out. And you can add as many petals as you want. And that is my Dorian Gray. He is in rare form today. And I think I want some more of these paler flowers around. Let's do one. That is sort of to the side. And maybe a little cluster of smaller ones here. So I'm just doing like circles and letting those touch where the center would be. And do another one. And I'm just going to exhaust the paint that's on my brush doing these. That way they'll get lighter and lighter, and we'll have some different variations. Now I think I'm going to go back with this really dark color here so that we can balance it out down here, and I think I'll probably put it right about here. So let's go back with our permanent rose. And this one we're making just a little bit more pointy on the petals, but we're still sort of leaving it jiggity jaggedy. Oops, that's my technical word for that. Leaving it jiggity jaggedy toward the center so that we have a nice open white area for the center. Don't worry, we're going to come back and I'm going to show you what to do with that. And you can even dip your brush. I'm dipping it in water if you want some lighter petals, and see how that automatically makes those petals lighter and juicier. So you can do that too. See the difference? These are thicker, that's more ethereal, more light. All right, so now I am going to have to do another big one somewhere because I got kind of happy with that one. But I need to balance it. Let's do it right over here. But let's make it be a nice orangey pink, and let's do it same kind of way, but I'm going to keep dipping my brush in the water as we go around to make it lighter and lighter. And we are going to go off the edge of this paper, which is fine. And I just left a tiny little opening in there, but that's okay. What I'm going to come back and do is get some of that rose and just tap it all around the center and let that sort of darken it up. And I also think I'm going to take with this one, this bigger one up here, I'm going to make some lines. Now this one is almost dry, so the lines aren't looking as dark, but they are there. So, and I think I'm also going to take some yellow. I don't think I'm going to get the cadmium yellow. This is not wet anymore, but I'm just going to put some yellow around the center of this one just to give it a little more contrast. And I'm just going to let that dry. Let's fix these. There we go. Now I think I am going to add some purple. Now I've got some bright purple here, some purple flowers. Someone said, your flowers are so pretty, Viv. I always have difficulty making a pleasing layout of them. Let me show you. I'll show you something at the end of this. Don't let me forget to help you think about the layout. So now I've gotten mine a little too far over because I got happy with it, but that's okay. We're just practicing. So now I've got my purple paint here, and this is called bright purple. I think might be a Daniel Smith color. I'm not sure. It's called luminescent purple or luminous purple. And what I'm going to do is do some little, like, not really snapdragons, maybe a little bit like lilacs. Now remember, these are loose flowers, so we're not going for realism. So if they don't look like any flowers you've seen, it's fine. Again, I told you, don't overthink it. And let's put some coming out this direction. And these are just shapes. I'm just doing some ovals. Some of them I'm leaving a little white space in, some of them I'm not. Let's do another one here. is really fun for me because I don't have to make it look realistic. I don't have that pressure. I'm just making pleasing shapes and trying to do a pleasing arrangement. And that's all there is to this. Put a little, let's make another one. Let's make this one coming this way. If it helps you, go ahead and draw or paint a little line, a little brush stroke. You can also come back with a little darker purple if you want to and drop it into some of the areas just to give it a little bit more dimension, just to give it some more interest if you want. So I'm just going into my darker purple on my palette and just dropping it, just a little dot of it, and letting it, while it's still wet, and just letting that water do the work of mixing it and making it come out good. All right, we still need some more purple. So I'm going to come back in here with my luminous purple. I'm going to turn this upside down, and I think I'm going to make one come out this way. And I think one more, just like a little tiny one coming out here. Just a little tiny spray of these little sort of purpley flowers. And I'm going to come back with my darker purple and drop it into some of these areas, just so that'll give it a little bit more interest. All right, so now we're doing good. I am going to mix up some greens. Hey, Marlene. I am so glad you've got internet today, girl. I'm glad to see you here. So I'm just getting a little bit of sap green, and I'm going to mix it with a little bit of indigo because I want more of a darker green. You could also mix it with perylene green. Here, let me show you what perylene. Perylene looks very similar. Just this one's a little tiny bit bluer, and this is a little more duller. So I'm going to stick with the sap green and the indigo mix. So now I'm switching over to my number 2 brush, and what I want to do is I want to start filling in things. I want to go ahead and make some leaves coming around, leaf shapes. So they're really just long ovals with a little point on the end if you want to. I'm going to start making some leaf shapes here and there. I also want to sort of connect some of these flowers with a branch. And then come through these purple flowers. And you can do some little leaves around the edges. Can you see that? Yeah. All right. So we're just making some little stems to connect our flowers into the center here and there. Giving them a little stem to sit on too, some of these purple ones. All right, so we're doing good. Now while that's kind of drying, what I want you to do is make a dark, and you can use the perylene green or your other mixture, but I want you to make sort of a dark green mixture. And we're going to start making some centers. And all you're going to do, you're going to use your small tiny brush, just make dots. And then do little lines from your dots, just to give them a little center. You don't have to do it with this dark color. I just like the dark color. You could do it with an orange or a yellow or a brown, because I think on my sunflowers I'm going to use brown. So on these that are dry, I am going ahead and just making some centers for it. And they're just dots dots with little brush strokes. So nothing fancy, but it does give it a little bit of, a little more dimension. I'm going to let those green ones. This one, I don't know if I'm going to do lines. I think I'm just going to do dots in the center of this yellow one with no lines. And then I want to get some of my brown. I think I'm going to get a little bit of my raw sienna and a little bit of burnt sienna, sort of mix it. Now I think I'm going to go ahead with some burnt umber and mix it with that. I want it dark, but not as dark as burnt umber. And then I am just going to, and I'm going to dip my brush so that I pick up more water. And I'm just going to do little dots in the center of my sunflowers with this brown. Is there another sunflower? Nope, that's it. And for these little tiny ones, I'm going to do just a little yellow dots right in the middle of that white spot. Just some little, this is cadmium yellow in case you're wondering. All right. Oh, I forgot to connect this one here. I'll connect that. So now you want to go to some larger leaves. And I might use this brush for these larger leaves. I might switch to my Mimic number 8. But I also need to make this a lighter green. So I am getting some of my green gold here. I want this to be more of a lighter green. And I've just mixed it right into that first mix we made. And then I'm going to get a little bit of yellow ochre just to knock that back some. Oop, I think I went a little bit more than a little bit. A little bit too much yellow ochre, so that's okay. We'll just come back in here, get the yellow green, you can get some sap green. There we go. That's it. That's what I'm looking for right here. Now you want to do some of the larger leaves. And you're just going to work around where you think it needs some leaves. You can even dip your brush in the water and that will make some lighter leaves when they dry. You can leave a little white streak in the center if you like. Like so. And you just want to add some leaves where you think they'll look good. Some of the bigger leaves. Let's see. I'll make a leaf coming out from under this flower. Another one coming just out of the edge here. I hear you, Dorian. I hear you, baby. And you can do some smaller ones sort of in between the gaps here and there. You can just do a little smaller ones around some of these purple flowers, just little dots, because the yellow and that green will really look good next to that purple, that yellowy green. All right, we have got a lot of flowers on here, and I did not put a center in this one, and I think I am going to go with the darker center for this one. So just the dots. And the little brush strokes toward the center. Now on some of these flowers like this one, oh, it needs some, I'm going to use brown. Put a few little brown dots in the center of this to make a center. But some of these need an extra little something. So I'm going to come back in here with my brush and just add another layer just to darken that up some and give it some contrast. This one too. And these smaller ones, they need a little something something. I hear you, Dorian. You are in rare form today, bud. You are in rare form. He is cheering us on, guys. Now what I want to do is just make some, I don't know, some little dots, just sort of a medium green here. Let's get some more of this. Just sort of a medium. I'm putting some Payne's gray in it just to darken it up. And then you can just do like little clusters of dots in these little open areas just to kind of fill it in if you want. They don't have to be green. You could do a different color, like they're little tiny baby's breath flowers if you want. But that just sort of fills it in. Also, while some of these green leaves are wet, you can come back in and drop a darker green in there, and that'll give it a little bit of interest. Oh, I've smeared this one. Oh well. That's what I get for not watching what I'm doing. And that just sort of fills it in. Gives a little bit of cohesiveness. You can do some smaller leaves like so if you want. Like I said, don't overthink it. Just whatever suits your fancy at the minute, just try it. Just practice. Practice in your sketchbook. Now some of these are dry, some of these leaves. So what you can come back to, you don't want to get too detailed, but you can take this darker green and just do like a few little lines on there, and that just adds a little extra to it. If you want to, I mean, this is optional, but it gives them a little bit more dimension. This one's still wet. So those lines are just going to kind of blend in. So now we have a whole page full of flowers. So let me show you what I was going to tell you. Where's my piece of paper? When you are thinking of how to I'm looking for a pencil, but I don't have one right by me here. Let's see if this one's sharp enough to use. Think of it in shapes, like you can do a crescent. So you'll think of a crescent shape. This is a pleasing shape. And what you'll want to do is put like 3 flowers toward the fat end, 3 big flowers. Right here, sort of in the center. And then what you want to do is go with smaller flowers next. And you can even put a few smaller flowers close up in the big part. So, and then you want to go with maybe some trailer flowers here and there. So you just want to think of shapes. Another good shape for flowers is a diamond. You'll put your largest flowers here toward the center, and then you'll get progressively smaller, and you might end up with leaves on the corners if you want to do it that way. A circle is always good. With the circle, I would put the bigger flowers like to one side of the circle and then work your way out that way, like smaller flowers. Squares are always good. So just think in shapes, but you could also do like a more oval and just remember, put the larger flowers and then smaller flowers and then sort of the trailers and the little leaf sprigs around the edges. So if you want to do a, I'm just going to show you individual flowers. If you want to do a rose, you can start by doing sort of C's that are little C's or commas that are facing each other. And you want to use your more concentrated paint. Then you dip into the water and you'll start adding your first row of petals. Then you dip in your water again. You're not rinsing your brush, you're just dipping it. And you want to go across where the other two petals are meeting. And as you go out further, the more you dip your brush in the water, and you can close these up. They don't have to be quite so many gaps in between. You can close some of those gaps because it's looking a little bit too open. Dip it in the water again. And see how much lighter that each petal is getting as we dip and get bigger. And if you want to, you can go into your yellow and add a little yellow to it here and there while it's still wet, just to give it a little interest there. And so if you want to do your sunflowers, the method you can use for the loose sunflowers is just point, smush it down, then lift it and pull it. Smush it down, lift it and pull it. Smush it down. And that is a technical term, smush it, because I just said it was. And you just go around this imaginary circle, this imaginary center, until you get all of your petals in. You can let that dry and do another layer of petals once this is dry, if you would like. And you can make them all touch at the edges if you want. So that would be an easy way to make a sunflower. Then these other flowers, which I don't know the name of, you can just do sort of a rounded petal shape and then just pull it toward the center. But remember to leave some white near the center. You know, here, let me show you. Don't do it like this. Don't make it solid. That's boring. Have a little bit of white area. We don't want boring flowers. We want interesting flowers. So have a little bit of white in there toward that center. And your petals don't have to be perfectly shaped. You can even come back and get some water so that you'll have some lighter petals. More ethereal, whatever you want to call it. And you can even add other colors into it while it's still wet to give it a little bit of interest. Nothing wrong with that. This sunflower, you could add a little bit of the brown just around the edges of the center, and then inside of it as well, because sunflowers have brownish, sometimes black centers. I'm gonna need to clean up these petals. They are looking a little bit raggedy. They're a little wind blown. See, what else kind of flower can I? And then of course you got your round flowers, not really round, but you know, on a stalk, and you want to leave a little white space in those, so you can do a little round. I'm just showing you some examples so that you can try your own. You don't have to stick with the same ones I painted today, so that you can see them. You can make different shapes of flowers. And then leaves, you can do the smush method. You can do the C or two commas facing each other and leave a little white in the end, and then come back with some dark green and dump it in there, or some blue, You can just do like sort of long, almost like little ferns. Just giving you some different kinds of things that you can do, and I want you to go ahead on your own and try them out. And of course we got to get our blue so we can make some put a little blue in our green and make, oh, sorry about that, my dog is on a mission. Make some eucalyptus. And you know how eucalyptus are 2 circles on each side. So you can have eucalyptus. I know I've already shown some of y'all this, but I'm just recapping it for people that haven't been here. So you have a nice little eucalyptus branch, and you can make them bigger or smaller, you know. However, it just shapes. It's all it is. You're just painting shapes with different colors and then trying to do it in a nice arrangement. So maybe that'll give you some ideas of some different ones you can do. Once this is dry, you can come back in here and do more layers on this rose to darken it up in some areas, especially around the center, because roses tend to be darker around the center. So you can come back and add a little bit more if you want to. That's up to you. You can do little lines on top of these once they're dry if you want to give a little interest to them. Just use your imagination. What other kind of, you could do leaves that do look like ferns where you just do the dots, and then it's just sort of dotted out from the sides. It's just dots, and then they get bigger as they go down, and it looks like a fern almost. So it's sort of really light feathery type, and I got it into my, so that looks more like a fern. So that's all you need to do for that kind. And then, you know, just regular little leaves. Like I said, just don't overthink it. Yes, these are booby flowers, but I have new people and I didn't want the people to get too offended right away. But yes, we call our eucalyptus booby flowers because it's 2 boobies. Look, you got one big booby or the head right there, whatever you want to call it. And then you put a booby on each side. There's a booby and there's a booby. There's a booby and there's a booby. So these are our booby flowers. Just rows of boobies. All right. So let me come back to y'all here. Oh. So I hope that you've learned a little bit, and at least you've got some ideas. And if you do make some of these loose watercolor flowers, please post them in the group so that we all can see them and brag on them. So thanks for watching. I appreciate y'all coming. We back on track for our Wednesday, so we'll have Watercolor Wednesday next week unless some disaster happens, which I don't anticipate. So thanks for coming. Happy painting, and I will see y'all soon. Probably, tomorrow. Who knows? Bye.